Libra, last month I sort of accused you of overthinking. Has it changed in July? I don't think. Me thinking, there you go. I don't think it has, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. The overall energy is the energy of the Knight of Wands. He's bold, he's brave, but he does rush into things. Now, if it was overthinking, it would be the Knight of Swords, so it's not as bad as the Knight of Swords, but he does rush into things. So I suspect you haven't. Last month, suggesting that you had many blessings, and maybe you did, maybe you did. It was your overthinking that grabbed my attention. Particularly in terms of relationships, so things looked as though they were pretty good in the past. Right now, you've got an important decision to make. An important decision, and you can't see which is the best option. Both look equally good or equally bad. So again, thinking, in the future, we have the Queen of Wands. She's somebody that people do like to work with, people like to work for. Somebody's good at organising others. But the flip side of that is she can be that little bit manipulative over others. In the future, there are multiple benefits. It's just probably related to monetary benefits or material benefits. It's just possible that you're by yourself, you don't have a significant other, but that's not necessarily how to see that energy. Now, we've had an energy of you unable to take a decision, but I think if you were to take that, and that's in the future, but I think if you were to start planning a future, planning a more radical future, you'd take your mind off things and probably be able to move on a lot better than you currently are. Having said that, these benefits that you're getting, they do lead to you having a real sense of balance, a sense of direction, a sense of knowing where you're going and why, and a sense of pace in how you're going to get there. So as I've said, the overall energy that runs through this entire reading, Libra, is that of the Knight of Wands. So I must bear that in mind as I'm looking at the other energies. Now, in his favour, he's very brave, he's very bold, he's quite a fierce knight, he's very fast, but he does tend to rush into things. He's the sort of person that in a fight will immediately rush to the fight, regardless of if he's outnumbered. It's slightly foolhardy energy. I wonder if that's what we're meant to take from it. Before, last month I said you were overthinking, and this is suggesting that it's sort of a foolhardiness in the way that you do things. I wonder. Now, your past energy, which I'm not sure if I picked up on it last time, but your past energy is one of blessings. Probably blessings in terms of relationships. Could even be love, but blessings, much to be thankful for, much to be contented about. And that is impacting on this month. So although what can I say, seeing slightly negative signs this month, There are positives, and I do need to be mindful of those positives. Current energy is that of having to take a decision. It's an important decision, but you don't feel you've got all the information. And I did accuse you of overthinking. Well, is this an example of overthinking, or do you genuinely not have the information? It would seem that you feel that both sides are equally good or equally bad. And you simply can't make your mind up. You look at the rendering, and he's blindfolded. So how on earth would you know if you were blindfolded? Yeah, you're finding it difficult to take. And, sometimes you just have to take a decision. Is this one of those occasions? I honestly don't know. I couldn't give you advice at this moment. I think you do. I think you do. The future energy is the energy of the Queen of Wands. I mean, she is a nice queen. She's an organizer of people. Long time ago, well, no, to be honest, somebody that I used to rent a flat off, well, share a flat as it were, but rent a flat off, in Leicester when I was teaching at Leicester University. Then moved to Manchester University, and she arranged a party at a friend of hers house, and I watched her working the room, going round, filling everybody's drink up and introducing people to one another, even though she was sort of the outsider. And it's that sort of an energy that we have here. At its best, everybody loves her because she made the party go. But at a worst, it can be quite manipulative, and I'm not sure which you are. Now, I said that last month you had multiple blessings. Well, we've got multiple blessings again now. And multiple blessings that are probably more in terms of physical blessings, in terms of material blessings, but they don't have to be. It's multiple blessings. Given that last month was probably about relationships, I think this is a throwaway. It's possible with this particular energy that you're by yourself, but I suspect we shouldn't read that into it. I think it's just multiple blessings, and you had multiple blessings last month, and that's why we have to keep a hold on this not being a bad spread at all, because it isn't at all. And this leads to the outcome, which traditionally I see as a very good outcome. It's only recently, with there being so much chaos and change, that I've begun to see it not so positively. Now, if you remember, the current energy was that of needing to take a decision and finding it very difficult to, and I said I think you have to. What would change the outcome? And, I think the outcome's a good outcome. As I say, just recently I've not been seeing it so positively, but I think it's a good outcome. But up to you. If you were to see this sort of decision, more about planning a new future, more about saying, well, if I did this, then I could do this with it. And if I did that, I could do that with it. And started sort of thinking of quite radical options. I think it would take your mind off some of the immediate things that maybe you're preoccupied with, and making things a little bit difficult for you. But I leave that up to you, because I'm not sure which is the best here. outcome that I've kept mentioning is the Chariot, the energy of the Chariot. And let me tell you what it's about, and its positives first of all. It's a sense of balance, a sense of purpose, a sense of knowing where you're going, wanting to go there. Sense of everything being in harmony in terms of achieving that goal. A sense of urgency in terms of going there. So, what could be possibly wrong with that? Well, because we live in such changeable times, I've not necessarily seen this as positive. Do you remember I talked about the Knight of Wands and saying that just possibly it was about taking the wrong action? And remember, that is an energy that runs throughout all of these cards. What if this direction and purpose are the wrong one? Now, I'm not saying it definitely is, but I think it's a strong possibility. How strong? Well, in the future, in the future you're maybe behaving manipulatively. Do you know, I think I've got there. This isn't the right thing to do. It is better to plan something quite radical, something different. Yeah. We can summarise for you now, Libra. Libra, if you remember, last month I accused you of overthinking. And it would seem that that's something that you're still doing. Maybe there's more sort of an action orientated here, that you're doing the wrong things. Last month there were blessings, and there are blessings this month. You wouldn't get those blessings from the universe, God, Allah, if you were doing everything completely wrong. So I don't want to be too hard on you, but I think you do have a tendency to rush into the wrong things. You've currently got a decision to make, and you're finding it difficult to make because either side seems equally plausible. But what would completely change your direct trajectory is to put more effort into that, to plan around this decision and say, well, if I did that, maybe I could move in this direction, whereas if I did that, I can move in that direction. Now, I'm not talking about hard plans, but, you could take what is seemingly quite a simple decision, even though you can't make it easily, take quite a simple decision and turn it into radical changes for your life, which I think would take your mind off the sort of jumping to the wrong conclusions, which I do believe you're doing. Because of the sort of benefits that you're getting, I think it gives you a false sense of security, and that leads to a sense of balance, a sense of knowing where you're going, a sense of having your aims and objectives in tandem, a sense of knowing what the target, what the goal is, a sense of direction and a sense of urgency. What I'm most concerned about is that it's the wrong direction. And that's why I'm sort of suggesting to you it might be better to dream up some sort of fairly radical alternatives, things you hadn't thought about. Of course, I could be wrong about all this, but at these times of severe change, it does make sense to me.